Guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today is Christmas in July, day 12. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. This Christmas in July season, I am talking about stories from my early days as a medical coder and just sharing some little stories about myself. So I hope you all enjoy the series. Today's episode is going to be about the big interview. So let us begin. So our story continues from yesterday's episode where I talked about my big decision to make that move, make that step to start applying for other jobs, well, one job in particular, and leave the comfort of the hospital that I had grown to love and I had been at for 6 solid months. So I had ended up getting an interview with the hospital that I really wanted to work at. And this episode is talking about that very moment. So let us begin. All right. So I got the interview and I am at work that day, and this was going to be a phone interview. That this position that I was applying for was hours away from the hospital that I was at. And so they said that there was no need to show up for an in-person interview, that a phone interview would be just fine. There was no Zoom back then, okay? So anyway, I had asked my supervisor if I could have the afternoon off because that was when our phone interview was. And I didn't want to do this at the hospital because I didn't feel right, you know? And I wanted to be able to concentrate, and I wanted to just be focused and present in the interview. So she had let me go early that day, and I went home, and I was so nervous because, you know, I had a little bit of time before this interview, and I was just nervous because I was like, okay, I know I have these skills. I know I have what it takes, even though I have just limited experience just now. It's okay because all the hours I've been working, really, it equates to a lot more time. So than just the 6 months. So that's what I thought of, and I said, okay, that's going to be part of my defense too if they ask, you know. And I just kept telling myself it's going to be all right, it's going to be all right. I did get a call from my mom, a pep talk beforehand, and I told my mom that I really wanted this and that it was so important to me because I missed her so much and I just wanted to go back home. And while I liked being there, I liked being where I was at, I wanted to come home. And she says, I know. You know, I remember her saying that, you know, whatever happens is going to happen. And just do the best that I could. And she said, charm them like you charm everybody else. And so I said, okay. And she goes, I know you're going to do great. You know, just do the best you can. And, you know, you're going to do really well. And so I said, okay. So then I got the call, right? So I'm sitting there and I've got all my books laid out, right? I've got all my coding books, I've got my medical dictionary, I've got everything laid out in front of me just in case I needed anything. So I get on the call, and Laura is on the call, and she's got 2 other people on this call too, and she says, well, there's a panel here. And so I said, okay. And so she says, it's 2 other lead coders and me, and we're going to be asking you some questions. So I said, okay. And so she goes, just do the best you can. We just want to see kind of where you are. We need to gauge your knowledge base. So I said, all right. So we start talking about basic coding questions. They were asking me about anatomy and pathophysiology. And they were asking me what some abbreviations were, if I knew what they were. And I was just like getting them. And I'm thinking, yes, I'm doing really good. This is awesome, you know? So then they got into the portion about personality and my experience and to explain to them what was I doing. So I was explaining to them that I was doing inpatient professional services and that I was telling them what my production was like and how I had taken them from not being done at all to, you know, a good amount of them were being done because that clinic had a huge turnover before I had gotten here. So they couldn't keep anybody in that clinic. So that clinic was suffering, you know. And I talked about the fact that I had done provider education And they liked that. Laura was like, oh, really? Did you? And I said, yes. And I had told her about being with all those residents. I said there were 60 plus residents in there. And I said, and since that time, I have been actively with them. And I've made it a consistent effort to get around them and to make sure that they're well trained. Because being that they are residents, they're going to go out into the real world and they're going to start documenting. So you want to make sure that they get the best education that they possibly can. She liked this. So they continued to ask me like other questions about what was a situation that I had in the past where I disagreed with the auditor. What did I do? So I gave them my story about the auditor and what had happened there. And so they were saying, okay, that's good, you know, that I had done a lot of I was proactive in my approach to try to diffuse the situation by letting the auditor finish and that kind of thing. And then all of a sudden the line went dead. And I was like, hello, you know, and I'm looking at this phone, the phone is dead, you know, but the phone wasn't dead, the line, it was cut, you know, like they had hung up or I had hung up. And I'm like, no, I didn't hang up. And I'm thinking, I don't even have the number to where they're at. And I'm trying to like look through all my papers trying to find the number. And I'm panicking. I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope they don't think that I hung up on them. And so they called me back, right? And I was like, hello? And then they go, well, we got disconnected. And I go, oh. And I said, I thought it was me. And they go, no. They go, we are in a temporary building. So they're doing like a lot of work or whatever. And they just shut off all the lines. So I was like, okay, good. I said, I was nervous for a minute there. And they all kind of laughed and stuff like that. And I remember them telling me, don't worry, you're among friends, you know. And so I remember that very distinctly, you know. So anyway, we're still going on in the interview. And it's very promising. They all have questions. And I'm making them laugh. And I'm being myself, I'm being Blue, you know, and just being charming. And the fact that I knew I could feel like this was really good. Like I had been in interviews before for like other jobs, right? But there was something about this interview that you could feel like there was something really good, you know? And so I was just like, and just thinking of it, it was just so, it makes me happy because that interview led to this position that I'm in now. And this position that I'm in now, it changed everything. Honestly, you know, this position that I'm in as a medical coder currently, and I work in a hospital. It's where I've grown up, like coding wise, right? Where I've developed as a medical coder, where I've sharpened my skills, where I've gained confidence, and it all happened that day. Like that led me here, right? But so we get to the end of the interview, right? And we had been talking for a good hour and a half. This interview was long, not only because of the questions, but because we were talking back and forth, and plus, you know, the little hiccup with the phone line. So at the end of the call, I get the question, how soon could you start if you got selected? And I said, 2 weeks exactly to the day that I get the call. So they all start laughing. They go, okay, well, it was very nice meeting you, Blue. If you are selected, you will receive a phone call and we will go from there. So I said, okay. And I said, well, thank you so much. I appreciate the interview, appreciate the time, and I've enjoyed talking with you all. And so they said, okay. And then that was it. So I called my mom. Immediately I called my mom. And she's like, the interview was that long? And I'm like, yeah. And then she's like, wow. And I said, yes. It was the test, like the verbal test and things like that, and looking stuff up in the book, and then talking to them about myself and my personality and what I've been doing and what are my goals. They were asking me that too, like, what are your goals? And she's like, so what do you think? And I said, I am so positive about this. Like, it was so good. And they asked me at the end, you know, how soon could I start if I get the call? And she's like, ooh, she's like, that's really good news. And she goes, are you excited? I said, I am so freaking excited. She goes, well, you deserve it. And then she goes, so just now we just gotta wait, you know? So I said, okay. And so I said, I can't wait. I can't wait to get back. I really can't wait to get back. And this is going to be so exciting for us, you know, because I was going to be closer to my mom, and it was just one step closer to getting back home. And so later that evening, I went out and I didn't go out with friends, but I went to the bar right next door, and I just had dinner, and I just kind of sat there grinning like an idiot because I felt so sure about this interview, and I said this was something that I had decided to do. I was gonna do it, and I did it. And then a week passed, and I didn't hear anything. And then another week passed. And I said, okay, well, maybe they're just sort of waiting for like the pay period to end, that kind of thing. Maybe that's it. And then the third week passed. And it was time to accept it, that I wasn't getting the call. And of course I called my mom and I cried. You know, I'm an emotional person, I am. I'm strong when I need to be, but when I want something the way that I wanted this, and I had never wanted anything more than this moment, which was I wanted to get this job. And it's raining outside, that's why you hear the thunder. And I didn't get it. And I was so sad. I was like, I just wanted the job. And then I said they didn't want me. And my mom was like, and I remember my mom saying it too. She's like, it's not your time yet. Don't worry. She's like, don't cry, mija. It's not your time yet, you know. Mija's daughter in Spanish, you know. And she said, don't worry. It's gonna be okay. You know, she said it's just not your time yet. It's not your time yet. So I said, okay. So mothers have a way, this amazing way of just calming everything down and making you relax instantly. And I felt relief almost, you know, in that moment when she told me that, because it was like, okay, this wasn't meant for me. Then I have to wait. Then this is what I have to do. And so it was about a month and a half later. I happened to be looking again, right? And because I'm not going to give up. And that's what I told my mom. I'm not going to give up. She goes, I'm good. I'm glad you're not going to give up. She goes, but that position that you applied for was not for you. So I said, okay. So then I saw another position, same hospital, but it was a higher position. Substantially higher than the other position that I had applied for. So I said, I'm going to go for it. So I called my mom and I told her, I said, they're hiring again. And then she goes, oh, they are. And I said, yes, but this position is higher. She goes, go for it. And so I said, so I put my resume back together again. And I said to myself, you know what? The worst thing that can happen is they tell me no again, because they've already told me no. They've already said, you know, by their silence that they didn't accept me. So I said, okay, I got this. You know, and I said, if anything, they'll interview me again, and it'll show that I'm being persistent. So I put my resume through again, and I waited. This time, the job was closing like within a week, you know, and so I didn't have to wait long, you know. And I said, job closed, and I saw it. I said, okay, it's closed. A couple days later, I refreshed the screen again, because just me, I was going back and forth on there. I was being such a pain looking at that website because I wanted to see where I was. Sure enough, it showed again. Resume forwarded on to hiring or selection staff, selection committee. So I said, okay. I said, here we go again. And then it was like 2 days later, I get an email that said, you have been offered a position at this hospital. And they gave me all the details. If you accept this position, please call the HR office and please respond to this email, yes or no. You want to know how loud I screamed? It was just like, like I had won the lottery. And I was so happy. I was jumping up and down. I called my mom and I was like, I got it. So of course she's excited for me. And she is so happy. She's like, I told you. This is why you have to be persistent and you have to be patient. And then she goes, and you did both. So she goes, I'm so proud of you. And I was just like so happy. I was like, oh. I said, finally, now I was going to be in a permanent employee, right? At a place, right? And not only that, I was going to get another raise because this was more money. And I'm like, yes. So not only was I happy about that, but it was just like all these things were so good. And she goes, so when are you going to tell your boss? And it's like, probably going to call her tonight, you know? And so she said, okay. She goes, I'm so proud of you. She goes, I've seen you go through all these things and you just take everything in stride. She goes, I'm very proud of the strength that you are putting out there because she goes, I know it's a lot. And I said, yes, it is. And so I went and called my boss after I got off the phone with my mom. I went and called my boss and I told her, I was like, I got it. She goes, you did? And I said, yes. And then I said, I'm going to be turning in my letter tomorrow. And she goes, okay. She goes, are you going to tell everybody else? I said, I'm going to tell them in person. But I wanted to tell you tonight. But don't say anything. She goes, oh, no, I'm not going to say anything. She goes, I'm happy for you, Blue. And so I said, okay. So the next day when I went to work, I had already typed up my letter of resignation, and you know, I literally put it 2 weeks to the day, right? And and they had said at HR when I had called them to tell them to confirm in verbal that yes, I was accepting. They said that I had another week because of the pay period, so it was going to be 3 weeks that I was going to start. So I was like, well, that's fine, you know. So I gave 2 weeks. And then I had a week to be able to move my stuff and things like that. So, okay, cool. And it was, they go, you sure you don't need more time than that? I'm like, no. I want to start right away as soon as I possibly can. So they said, okay. So they gave me all of my start paperwork and all this packets and stuff. They emailed it to me. And then the next day when I went to work and I handed in my resignation letter to Jessica. And then at lunchtime, I had been having tutoring with one-on-ones with one of the ladies. She used to be an instructor at the college for medical coding, and my friend Maria, you know. And so we were all in there. We were doing lunchtime study hall, right? And we were studying for cardio because this hospital had a huge cardio department, and cardio was something that Maria and I were both struggling with. So our teacher or the other coworker that we had, Mrs. G, she was tutoring us. So as we're in there and I show up and Maria's there and she's like, hey man, what's going on? You know, because Maria, you have to know her and you'll love her. She's one of those people. She's really cool. She's very rockerish, you know. And so she comes in there and I'm in there and Mrs. G's in there, you know. Mrs. G's at her desk. And all of a sudden she looks at me. She goes, Blue, what's wrong? And then I said, nothing. No, I'm just waiting on y'all. And then she goes, you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm fine. And I'm trying to like wait until after we have our lesson because I didn't want it to distract us, you know. And so I went and we went through the lesson about the heart and everything and the valves and stuff. And then I said, okay, I have to tell you guys something. And then Mrs. G looked at me. She goes, I knew there was something up. And then I said, and then Maria was like, what's up, man? What's up? And then I said, I got another job and I leave in 2 weeks. Maria burst into tears. I've never seen anybody burst into tears, but she bursted into tears. And she's like, what? And then she goes, you're leaving? And then I said, yes. And then, of course, I see her cry, and I start to cry. And then, of course, Miss G was like, oh, my God, Blue, we didn't know that you were trying to leave. And I said, this is something I've been needing to do. You all knew that I was going to go. They go, we didn't know you were applying, you know. I said, I didn't know I was going to get it. And I said, but I got it, you know. And Maria was like, are you sure? Are you sure you want to go? And I said, it's permanent, and I won't be temporary anymore. I'll be doing a lot more. But you know, I said it's what I want, you know. And Maria said, I'm so sorry to see you go. I don't want you to go, Blue. And I said, I know, but this is something I have to do, you know. And so she says, And so she was just sad, you know, and I gave her a hug, and, you know, Mrs. G gave me a hug, and we were all hugging at the end, you know. But I said, it's not sad, and of course it's not goodbye, it's just see you later, you know. I said, I'm still going to be here for another 2 weeks, so you still have me for a little bit. And then she says, okay. She goes, but you're not going to lose track with us, right? I said, no, of course not. Of course not. And I've still maintained my friendship with them to this day. So at the end of my 2 weeks, you know, they took me out to lunch, and, you know, I had to pack up everything in my office and stuff like that. My mom flew in to help me, and she was there to help me break down my office and, you know, pack up all my things and stuff. So that's gonna be my next episode. It's gonna be the move. But all the things that I had learned while I was there, they've carried me through all this time, you know, everything that I learned in my early days as a medical coder. The foundation that I had while I was there set the tone for everything, you know. So, but that's what happened. And I told the chief resident, who I had regularly had contact with, I went to him, I saw him in the hallway, and so we walked together, and I said, I have to tell you, because I don't want you to hear from somebody else. I said, I'm leaving in 2 weeks. And then he says, oh, are you going to be back? And I said, no, I got a new job. He goes, you did? And he goes, oh my gosh, Blue. And he goes, that's wonderful. He goes, we're going to miss you. And I said, I've got y'all like going in the right direction. I said, and y'all have good hands to be in anyway after I leave. So he goes, wow. He goes, well, he goes, I've been so happy to know you. He goes, if you ever need a reference, let me know. And I said, okay, I will. Thank you so much. And so that was it. You know, it was so bittersweet to leave. But at the same time, I was so excited to go and start something new. And yeah, anyway. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. Tomorrow, I will be talking about the move and the adventure that I had from the move. So the saga continues tomorrow. So I will see y'all on the next video. Please like, subscribe, share if you found this entertaining. And I will see y'all on the next episode. Bye.